Thanks for tuning in to the Women's Vibrancy Code, a podcast dedicated to helping women move from exhausted to energized, balance their hormones, and feeling turned on by their life, their lover, and themselves. I'm your host, Maraya Brown. I'm a Yale and functional medicine trained women's health expert, midwife, mom, keynote speaker, and self-made entrepreneur. I'm the founder of my signature program, the Women's Vibrancy Code. So sit back, relax, and let's chat about your energy, hormones, libido, and embracing your feminine power. Oh, and you might want to have pen and paper to take some notes on some of these episodes. So welcome back to the Women's Vibrancy Code podcast. For those that are listening, let's talk about how we can stand out in a confident, spectacular way, even if we feel like we're existing in a saturated marketplace, if we're feeling lost, alone, unsure. I have Maureen with me today, and this is her expertise. This is her zone of genius. So, and for those of you watching in Facebook, hello, welcome. You're welcome to just let us know where you're watching from, what jumps out at you as you listen. And Maureen, would you be open to just introducing yourself?
Yes. Hey, Maraya, and everyone who's watching. My name is Maureen Mwangi. I am a brand growth strategist, pretty much a brand growth strategist behind some of the most beloved American brands like L'Oreal, Dove, Chobani, and Lay's. And I pivoted over, started a company called Startward Consulting that basically teaches product-based entrepreneurs the sales and marketing strategies they need to turn their beloved product brands into a household name. So in short, helping you stand out in a saturated market, but also make a lot of money while doing that.
Yum. I love it. I didn't know you were with L'Oreal. My nephew just hired on with L'Oreal. He's in the marketing department, actually.
That's awesome. Yes. So I worked on the agency side and then supported them a lot with the innovation concepts and what they were trying to put out in market. So I've seen their growth and their pivot in their brand. So it's fantastic to watch what these brands are doing now.
Love it.
Yeah.
And so what does it look like to stand out?
What does it look like to stand out? I think for me, in my own definition, is allowing yourself to express the deepest desire and the deepest truth of your product, of your service, and of yourself. Especially in a saturated market, what I've seen is we tend to look at outside factors. We tend to look at outside brands and then try to figure out how to fit in, instead of leaning in inside and asking yourself, like, with all honesty, why do I want to do this? And then, you know, that spicy thing you're so scared of saying, or that spicy thing you feel like it's going to be polarizing, that is what you're supposed to be saying. That is how you stand out.
And so when you are supporting individuals to express their truest calling, in regard to the work that they're doing, the products that they're developing, as well as their true self, what do you see transform in them personally? I'm curious because you're seeing them on a business side.
Yes.
Do you ever take note of when they're like really in alignment, when they're allowing themselves to say the spicy, polarizing thing? Do you ever take note of it changing their energy, changing their enjoyment of life, changing how they're living their life, their relationships, any of that? Do you ever see the byproduct?
In fact, that's how I measure my services being successful. Because what happens is they begin to own themselves. And when they own themselves, they are so confident. And confidence isn't just saying I'm confident. They go for the big goals. They start applying to retail opportunities. They start showing up bougie. My people tend to be more edgy and they like the fancy things. They want people to know that. They jump on speaking platforms. They start building a personal brand. They start launching a podcast, even though they have a product-based business. And I'm like, they're like, this is exactly what I wanted to do. And then many of them actually say they do think they are thought leaders. The product is the product they're selling is just a byproduct of who they are. It's like a vehicle of what they're supposed to be doing in life.
So what I'm hearing is they start going for their big, audacious goals.
Yeah.
And you're specifically helping these individuals get really clear with products.
Yes.
So they're on this path of doing whatever it is. So for those of you listening, you're working, you're doing your blah, 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 9 to 5, but you have this side calling.
Yeah.
This product that's like, oh, this like lights me up. And if I could only bring this product to the marketplace. So you're helping them do that.
Yeah. Yeah. And they make a lot of money on the side. Some of them have actually quit their full-time job and they're like, finally, I'm doing my calling. But
yeah,
it's not because it's partly because of the messaging and the strategy, but it's mainly because they owned who they are and they expressed that.
Yeah.
That's it.
And they owned the thing that's like, well, I think about my first career was in marketing and Fortune 50. And then I attended a birth. I was like, no, I'm a midwife. But to be able to own that and not push it down, you then see women come alive and own their power. And then they see themselves as thought leaders.
Yeah.
When before they worked with you and before they actually listened into the calling, how did they see themselves?
Not enough.
Not enough.
Not worthy. Who am I to say this? Or I'm too loud. Because there was something I wanted to say there that is actually my story. What I did was the brand I created is as a result of owning my voice. Because I had the same thing. I always felt I'm too bold. So part of the feedback is I'm very direct. And when I was growing up, being very direct would be good for some people and bad for other people. For a lot of people, it was hard on them. But for me, I wasn't saying it because I didn't make it mean anything. It's just who I am. And because of me being very bold and being direct, I started muting it down. And now when I started muting it down, it also showed up in my corporate space. And how it was showing up in corporate for me was all my performance reviews. It was like everything, but there's one thing, Maureen, you don't do well. You don't voice your opinions. So we would go to board meetings, we're setting up the strategy, people are arguing for and against something. And the back of my mind, I'm like, I feel like I want to say something, but I don't say it because I'm like, it's probably not valuable. Or somebody said it before and I'll be like, why do I need to repeat what somebody else said? And so this platform is just a reflection of, if you own yourself, I owned the fact that I have a voice, it's opened up doors for many other people, like many clients who are now in retail. Some of them, God just brought them over to me, and goes back to show what we were talking about. In order for you to stand out, in order for you to feel like you're not in a sea of competitors, you kind of have to fight your deepest truth. Whatever that spicy thing you're scared of saying, polarizing thing, that's what you're supposed to say and own.
And the thing that I love about this is, through my lens, there would be a lot less thyroid conditions.
For real?
The most prescribed medication for women in the United States is levothyroxine. It's thyroid medication in synthetic form. And our thyroid exists in our throat. And I think it's because there's a theme. There's a lot of factors, but one of them is many women don't speak their voice. And so what I'm hearing is, when they stop the narrative of I'm not enough, they stop the narrative of I'm not worthy, I'm too loud, and instead own their voice, own their thoughts, and allow it to come out and be expressed. What I'm hearing is, in your world, they're creating amazing businesses and they're feeling like they're in full ownership and they're seeing themselves through a different lens and seeing themselves as thought leaders. From my lens, I think there would be a lot less hypothyroidism.
Did not even know the connection, but that's exactly it. Yeah.
Okay. So you came up with your first product. What was it?
So I think I've dabbled with many things. So at 14 years old, I started doing fragrances. 18 years old, I started doing travel. I got into network marketing, did travel. I think at 21, either 21 or 22, I got into Mary Kay beauty. I think I've done everything, but I think my best product is the program I've designed right now, the accelerator program, that just specifically teaches people how to stand out and how to market. That to me, I think is my life's calling, because I think many people ask me, why are you so passionate about branding? And I'm no psychologist, but this is what I think. When I grew up in our culture, I'm Kenyan, kids are to be seen and not heard. So what that means is you cannot question an elder, you cannot say anything, whatever your teacher tells you is a gospel truth. And so through that process, you lose your voice, you lose your identity. And for me, branding represents communication. And if you can communicate what you're trying to sell, whether you're a service entrepreneur or a product-based entrepreneur, it opens up more doors for you. So it's like more opportunity. So it's the whole idea of expression, communication, and more opportunities. And I think that's what this program has created. Dean Kamezi, Maraya, this is not the first program I started with in 2020 when we met. This was birthed last year when my life shut down. I had to allow myself to start again. And this is what I created almost 11 months ago.
And it sounds like it was birthed from your creativity.
Yes.
From your calling and you saying, this is the voice that needs to be heard. And it's for individuals that are wanting to build either service-based or tangible products.
It's mainly for tangible products.
Mainly tangible products.
Yeah.
And it helps them figure out how to stand out in the marketplace and how to stand out as a brand and also how to stand out as their individual, potent, powerful selves.
Exactly.
And who is it that mainly you work with at this point?
I pretty much work with a lot of beauty entrepreneurs. I don't know if it's because of my love for beauty, and I use all beauty examples, but I keep on getting a lot of beauty entrepreneurs, and I love it. It's either beauty, wellness, or fashion. Those three people, we work really well, I guess, because I'm also passionate about fashion. I'm passionate about wellness. Yeah.
I have so many ideas going through my mind because I'm also thinking this is not just about beauty from the outside in, but it's also about beauty from the inside out.
Yes.
In your words, what does that mean to you?
Seeing yourself first before other people seeing you. Seeing your product first before the market sees your product. Matriculating inside before you matriculate outside.
And when you say that's meaning going to the market.
Yes.
Marticulate. Is that the word?
I'm even forgot.
You said it. You said it a couple times.
Yeah, matriculation. Yeah.
So you're really helping individuals find the thing that they're passionate about. Allow it to come alive from inside first.
Yes.
And then express it outside, even in the realm of health, beauty, and fashion.
Exactly.
And then they get to own their presence as thought leaders. They get to own their bougie. They get to own, what is it that they end up owning? Who do they become?
They become themselves. They become the person they've always known they are. Because one client of mine, and I'm thinking she sells skincare, her philosophy is skincare should be indulgent. The reason that that's her philosophy is because she is extra. Like, she's indulgent in everything, how she dresses, like how she drives, but that's just who she's always been.
Yeah.
Ain't nothing negative about it. It's just who she is. And she believes that if I'm extra in all of these things, and the market is telling us we need to have a simple, minimalist skincare routine, that's not for me. I want to have an indulgent routine. I want to have a 7-step process because it works for me. That's it.
Yeah. And so if someone is listening and she says, this sounds great, or he says, this sounds great, but I don't even know what mine is. I don't even know who I am or what it is that I'm passionate about, but I know that what I'm existing in right now, it's not it. Do you have any words of wisdom for where does someone start?
That's a really good question, because for me, that's always been me. I've never
Mm-hmm.
known where to start, but I always had the gift of helping people.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the best place to start is, what's your gift? And your gift is the thing you do without any friction. It comes
Mm-hmm.
so easy for you. It could be as simple as tutoring kids. It could be as simple as just jumping on camera and talking.
Mm-hmm.
It could be as simple as just making your bed and doing it really well. I have a friend who is so gifted at interior design. Like, you walk into a house, she thrifts products, designs her home. She's like, it just took me an hour. I'm like, this thing will take me 5 weeks. That's that.
And I still won't like it even
Exactly.
5 weeks later.
And I won't still, yeah. So it's in your gift. Like, the thing that comes so easy for you, that's in it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like we've been made to believe that the harder it is, the more valuable the thing becomes.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So, and for me, I speak for myself, because that for me worked negatively in my life, because I felt like I kind of had to keep grinding it out. Like, if I don't grind it out, I won't get it. It doesn't make sense if I don't grind it out. It can't be this easy to make money. It can't be this easy to, that's the thing.
Do you think, and you grew up in Kenya, born and raised?
Yes,
or
I
your
grew up in Kenya. I literally came here to the US to do my master's
At what age?
at 21.
And do you think there's a grind culture as part of your upbringing? I feel like
Literally.
but I also feel like it's just, at least growing up in the US, it's also American culture too.
Yeah, I think for us, it comes from a perspective of scarcity, because you either
Mm.
have it or you don't have it.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't grind it out, you're probably going to be in a situation that you don't want to be in.
Yeah.
So it's that hustle, and the hustle, like, because in our culture, you either have it or you don't. You either have the money, and if you have the money, you get access to better resources. If you don't have the money, you don't get access to anything.
Mm-hmm.
Even
Mm-hmm.
school, something as simple as school, like for us, we look up to, like, coming to study abroad. That's a thing. Coming to study abroad is not easy. You have to get good grades. You have to be accepted. You have to, and now the levels, like studying at Yale, studying at Harvard is now another level. Like, I kind of have to be this smart to get to this level. So it's always been a grind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how fascinating. So there's this upbringing of, it's either have or not.
Mm-hmm.
You have to grind,
Mm-hmm.
but also harder equates with more value.
Yes.
And yet now what I'm hearing from you is you're helping individuals shift that old belief system. Because the reality is, if you go to buy a purse at Louis Vuitton versus Target,
Mm-hmm.
it's definitely not harder.
It's not harder.
So what's the actual difference?
I think the actual difference, is perception, based on the example you gave me.
Yeah.
It's like, when you're going for something, what are you trying to feel and achieve once you have that?
Mm-hmm.
If you want to get a Louis V purse, do you want to get it because you really desire it, or are you getting it to feel a certain thing, to feel a certain void? That's the first word that came to my mind.
Yeah. And so then so you're helping individuals first find clarity in what is it that they really are passionate about? What's their gift?
Mm-hmm.
Turn it into a tangible thing,
Yeah.
help them package it, brand it, and make it profitable. And
Yes.
along the journey, feel their power and their self-worth.
Yeah.
Along that, do you think that many of those individuals end up also in this old pattern of, I've got to grind, I have to work hard?
Yes.
And okay.
Yes. Then we get to a point where it becomes success sabotage.
Success sabotage. And what does that look like?
Success sabotage is basically a process where you've never allowed yourself to accept success. Like, you've achieved a certain level of success that you deemed impossible. You get it. But when you have it, you don't see that you have it. So subconsciously, you sabotage it, either by what you're doing or by what you say. So let me give you an example. I like to get personal so that people get it. In 2021, was the first year I made $350,000 in my business. Never saw, I didn't, that's too much. I didn't know what, I'd never been in a lot of money like that. Do you know what was happening? Every time money would come into my bank account, it would leave. Do you know where it would go? Of course, you're paying business expenses, but I started going to fine dining steakhouses. I started splurging on things that, to be honest, I don't even know where they are right now. That was a version of success sabotage, because I just did not allow myself to sit in the identity of this is now who I am with money. 2022 closed out the year at 55,000. I sabotaged my success. And so for my clients, that's how it shows up. And it shows up in either, you can be extreme like Maureen, because also in 2022, there was also a personal emergency that happened, but I also did contribute to me using money badly. So it can show up from a money perspective, but it could also show up from a strategy perspective. If you're in business, you want to change your strategy that was working really well to something new. And so you go into this new thing because your brain is so conditioned to being in the hustle and the grind and the figuring it out.
Yep.
From a personal perspective, let's take it. Somebody tells you look so good. What do you tell them? Oh, I got it at Target. Instead of saying thank you and receiving it and owning it. That's it.
I'm also thinking people will self-sabotage their relationships.
Yes.
They'll self-sabotage their health. And sometimes we don't even realize that that's what's happening.
Yeah. You honestly, you don't realize, like, this is hindsight talking. Then I did not know this was what's happening, but I think there's a lesson in that. Because if you're so used to grinding it out, then you get that level of success, you realize, hey, there's something that needs to be worked on before in order for you to accept that success and feel the success.
Right. And so probably the easy thing is to go back to the grind.
Yes.
Thinking I just have to work harder. And so then what did 2023 look like for you? Has there been recovery? Do you feel like you're back?
So much recovery, because now in end of 2022, I birthed this program that I absolutely love. Probably going to close out the year at 180K, 200K with no hustle, no grind, no paid ads, literally 60% profit margin. Never had that in my life.
Yeah.
And it's just because I allowed the process to be easy. I was like, okay, it should be easy to make money. My business is sufficient the way it is. Maureen, you're sufficient the way you are. My marketing is sufficient the way it is.
And it goes back to where you started with self-worth. What was it? I wrote it down. So how am I treating myself? But you talked about self-worth.
Yep.
Not enough.
Yes.
Too loud. Owning your voice.
Yes.
To instead allow this recalibration of, okay, I'm going to build this. I'm going to do what I love. I'm going to allow my audacious voice to be expressed out in the world. And I'm going to allow it to continue to grow because I am a thought leader.
Exactly.
Yeah. Potent, powerful. And so who is the individual right now that you love supporting?
I love supporting the individual that knows they're made for more. They have the more inside of them, but they need somebody to get that more out of them. I love somebody who's like, Maureen, just see my brilliance. Because when I talk about branding, it's basically positioning. And on the back end, I call myself like a positioning expert. A positioning expert is just somebody who sees the brilliance inside of you and pulls it out. Because I think when people hear strategists, they think strategists will come and give them new ideas. I don't give you new ideas. You tell me the ideas, and then I just repeat back what you told me. and then
Mm-hmm.
just align it with the stage of your business, your personality, and your capacity now. So that's a person.
Yeah. And it's specifically someone who has a tangible thing
Yes.
that they
Yeah.
want to manufacture, they want to bring to the marketplace.
Mm-hmm.
They want, is it predominantly high-end products, or is it,
No.
I want to make a journal on
Yeah.
Amazon?
Yeah. I have people
Okay.
with journals, with anything. Because I
Yeah.
personally think it's your positioning comes first before your price. So
Uh-huh.
that when people find out what they're supposed to say, they clearly tell me that Maureen, I can't charge $20 for this. It's not in alignment.
But instead, you're helping them feel fully expressed.
Yes. So they can
And
even own the price. So if they put a price tag of $80, this is who I am. This is my
yeah,
product.
yeah. And then are you also helping them with strategy in regard to how to manufacture it and which is the best way to take it to the marketplace and how do you get into retail? Or is it really,
Yes.
it's all of
Yes.
it?
It's all
Okay.
of it except the product development part. So it's
Okay.
all things marketing, sales, retail strategy. And when I talk
Mm-hmm.
about marketing and sales, it's on e-commerce platform, but also if you want to do retail strategies too.
And at the end of the day, you're helping someone feel fully expressed without self-sabotage.
Exactly.
And it sounds like we're all doing that. I mean, I think that's what I'm doing personally in my own life and probably
Mm-hmm.
what you're doing personally in your own life too. How do I
Mm-hmm.
feel fully expressed? How do I get clear with who do I really want to speak to?
Yes.
And how do I want to help those individuals? How do I want to exist in my life and my marriage and my friendships and as a mother?
Mm-hmm.
And what does it look like for me to own it?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. And so for someone who's listening and they're like, oh my gosh, I have something within me and I think Maureen might be able to help me. Where do they start? Where do they reach out to you?
Best place is my podcast. Love that asset so much. The podcast is a product entrepreneur podcast, but
Yeah.
I'm also on Instagram. Instagram is my best platform at Maureen Mwangi Official.
Okay. And
Mm-hmm.
I'll make sure that those links are in the show notes in the podcast. For those of you that are listening in Facebook or watching this Facebook, I'll go back in and I'll add it to the comments and make sure I get the link, or I'll tag you and you can also add in
Yeah.
and ask your questions there. I don't know
Yeah.
about you, Maureen, but at least for me, I'm very approachable. Just send me a
Yeah.
message,
Yeah.
ask me your question.
Just ask the questions, we answer. We're here to support you. I feel like we are better creators when we get questions from you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Like we are here to serve you. And I the other day I was telling myself, sometimes when we do this podcast, it feels like a one-way interaction. Is there a way to make it two-way with our listeners and our audience? And the only way to do it is if you drop your questions, because we're pretty
Yeah.
active. We're all on these platforms.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah.
you also have a YouTube channel too.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Yep.
Yeah, it's the same as my podcast, the Product Entrepreneur Podcast. But if you type my name, it pops up.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Random question for you. What if it's someone who's listening and is already, I heard that you just had some time in network marketing. What
Mhm.
if they're already in network marketing? They really love what it is that they're promoting. They
Mhm.
just want to do it in a different way, in a more authentic way.
Mhm.
Do you support those individuals? Maybe even they're in a franchise, or is it really the individuals that want to create their own baby? They want to birth
I
their own
do,
thing.
I do, I have helped like a Mary Kay specialist. So, and for her, she just wanted a way to express herself on social media that is not heavily tied to you're successful because you are a Mary Kay specialist.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because they do get their strategies from Mary Kay, but I think for her, she was like, Maureen, who am I outside Mary Kay? And how do my people see that? How do my people connect with me first? Then realize, oh, I have a Mary Kay product that you can use. So that person,
Yeah.
yes.
I love what I heard you say. Who am I outside of?
Yes.
Who am I outside of running this business? Who am I outside of being a wife? Who am I outside of being the daughter of, the granddaughter of, the mother of, the
Yes.
sister of?
Yes.
Who am I outside of being a Kenyan? Who am I
Yes.
outside of being an Oregonian? Who
Mm-hmm.
am I outside of being the blah, 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 blah,
Blah, blah,
blah?
blah, blah, blah. All the titles we have.
Right. And so
Mm-hmm.
you're helping individuals dig in and find their full expression specifically through, I want to create this tangible thing that
Yes.
can then be brought out into the world, and it brings me joy that others are using it and enjoying it. So
Yeah.
good. And here we are, you're here on, you interviewed me on your podcast. We talked
Yep.
about health, and we talked about love, and we talked about wealth. And you're here, and my podcast is predominantly around feeling spectacular and vibrant and health and wellness. And so for those that are listening, what message do you have to them that ties to the work that you do? Like, why come here and speak in this space?
I just want to tell them this. It's safe to be seen. It's safe to be successful. It's safe to serve. There's safety in everything inside of you.
Yeah, I love it. That is so good, because then I think about it through the lens of our adrenal well-being. And when we don't foundationally feel safe at the conscious or the unconscious level, our adrenals, whether we know it or not, are in fight, flight, or freeze. And so when we instead allow ourselves to unwind that coil and go, I am safe, my passion matters, and I can be fully expressed, they come to you and they have help in expressing it and really getting clarity on their positioning. And then they don't need to come to me because their adrenals end up being safe. And they don't end up with the adrenal fatigue because they're fully expressed. So good. Okay, any last parting words?
That's it. That's it.
You're awesome. For those listening, make sure you reach out, find her podcast, especially if you're wanting more nuggets around branding, positioning, taking your tangible thing that you like to bring to the marketplace. That is her go-to, her mojo, her beauty, her spectacular full expression. And I'm grateful that you're doing it, Maureen.
Thank you so much for having me here.
Thank you.